we've tried that, and then somebody forgets to go lock them up, and then something gets in the coop.
Right. Or you have a hen that doesn't want to sleep in the coop.
Goodness.
She wants to sleep in the tree. And then her friend decides to sleep in the tree. And then the next thing you know, you got
they're all sleeping in the tree. Exactly.
10 chickens in a tree.
And then they're like, oh, the nest boxes aren't as fun to lay in, so let's go lay over here. How y'all doing? Thank y'all so much once again for clicking on today's video. Today's video, we're going to be talking about chickens and humanity as it is in this crazy world that we live in.
Funny that we have to put chickens and humanity. I mean, it is some wild times that we're living in. So, yeah. Anyway, it's just a funny topic. Grab some tea, grab something warm and cozy to drink, sit back, relax, or put your earbuds in and get busy, do something. If you're listening to this as a podcast, welcome. If you're watching, welcome.
So I was looking today on Natural News. They got all types of awesome articles. Go check them out. Not sponsored. And I found this one. If they are willing to poison the chickens to stop them from laying eggs, they are likely poisoning the human food supply to stop us from having children. That's 100% true. And we've already seen, and I've read lots of articles with, the infertility rate and things like that, and the recent things that people been injecting into their bodies and stuff, not knowing that there's side effects and not knowing that they're going to be infertile after getting those things done to them. We've seen a big decrease in people having children.
Are you talking about the way that our modern food, industrialized food, negatively affects the hormones of people, right? So that men are experiencing a lot of negative impacts with, just modern hyper-processed food, like, whatever you go down the grocery store aisles. If you're not perimeter shopping your grocery store, you're going down those middle aisles, and that's all highly processed foods. And we know now that these younger generations, they are having a lot of issues with fertility. And some of that, maybe a lot of that, we don't know, can be linked directly to what we're putting into our bodies.
No, I think it absolutely is linked to what we put in our bodies. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen. And they just rolled out and they were starting to give these birds this new flu shot or whatever. So we'll see how that works out. Recently also, not trying to get too off track, but it's kind of food related. Another food plant burnt down this week.
Wow.
Too. Shocker.
Wow.
But yeah, it's interesting, y'all. And just like this t-shirt says, we are the CO2, and we are the CO2 that the governments and the they, them, and those behind the curtain. Real quick, I want to tell y'all about the best way to support this channel. If you're loving the content that you're watching right now and you want to support us, I would love for you to go check out TheTexasBoys.com, where we sell our locally sourced, farm fresh, non-pasteurized, non-vaccinated honey in 1 gallon, 5 pound, 44 ounce, 22 ounce, 1 pound, and 14 ounce honeys. We got pumpkin spice honey, we got pecan honey, both creamed honeys. This is just a normal 1 pound honey. Both of these are creamed, and then these are just in their awesome raw state honey. Moving on, we have our native brew coffee line with several more coffees than this, but we have Columbia, Southern Pecan, Hazelnut, You're Making Me Crazy, and Vanilla here on the table. Absolutely incredible coffees. Go check them out. So this right here is our native mushroom brew. I absolutely love this. If you're not a coffee fan, or maybe even if you are, I would love for you to go try this stuff out. 7 different types of mushrooms, and also we have a native mud version of this too, and that has cocoa powder in it. And what I really love to do with this stuff is put a scoop of it in my coffee. And y'all, that is absolutely incredible. So go check out the Texas Boys today. I'll let y'all get back to your video. we are the people, we are the CO2 that they want to eventually eliminate, and it will only be the global elites with the AI and robots. And people that think that AI and technology of that type is not powerful and not wicked, it's a little delusional. Right. I will say that. And God has control over everything, and I do know that. And but
there is a prince in power of the air. Exactly. Yes, and his name
is Satan.
And he does walketh. He walks about seeking whom he may devour, and he comes to kill and to steal and destroy and
people.
That is, and he likes to mock God. He likes to take what God has made and make it disgusting, and make it. He just likes to. He loves to be the copycat, but he loves to make his copycat demonic and just gross. So we're seeing that too.
Yeah, and I think we're starting to see more and more as the days are growing dimmer and dimmer. I mean, even at the Super Bowl in the background, there was like demons or whatever on the displays.
Wow.
Just real subtle.
Wow.
Just put some like devils or whatever on the screens.
We're supposed to be talking about chickens.
I know, but I'm just covering everything right now.
How does chickens parlay into? I mean, it's a crazy. I mean, the times that we're living in. I always tell the kids, you're never going to be able to claim that your childhood was boring, right?
Because not at all. No.
It's definitely a different time than if you were like us, like, an 80s kid. I mean, we just did not have all of these things going on. But Satan is real. God is real. Yep. There is a real God in heaven that we serve.
And Satan is not bound.
And he, at all. And we do not believe that Satan is bound. We believe that he is active.
Very active.
Today.
Look at the Grammys. Okay.
And so this war on food, I mean, it's so multifaceted, right? Multifaceted. It's like, it's to destroy us.
Yeah.
It's to destroy the animals, what they were created to do. I mean, pioneer people and, pilgrims and stuff, it's just amazing how they were able to raise chickens.
So incredible.
For all this time. I mean, up until like my grandparents' generation.
Up until the last 2 years.
I mean, chickens were like the most basic and simple of animals. I mean, they were kind of like.
Now we're having all this trouble.
And now there's just all this trouble with the chickens,
Well, it's because a lot of the other thing is we've been so separated from where our food comes from and things like that, and it's out of our power. And just as easy as that really your food supplier and those food factories and those grain mills have the power to put something or subtract something from the feed to either kill whatever you're feeding it to, or just make it stop producing whatever that might be. Sure. And I think it's a very dangerous and a very scary thing to think about, especially when it can pretty much be with anything. If they're doing it to chickens, what's next? Cattle and other things like that, with the grain situation where they'll feed cattle and then they won't be able to reproduce and things like that.
Right.
And it can be,
There's definitely a war on our food going on on so many levels.
Yeah.
We know they can do that with us, so they can do this with the animals. They can manipulate things, and I think the takeaway from it is going to always be to live a simple life, to have your own food and resources.
That's just what it's going to have to come down to in necessity.
Sure.
There's just going to be a point in time, and it's coming very quickly, where it's going to be like, okay, I went to the grocery store. I can buy maybe some vegetables, but everything else is bug or whatever grown or bioengineered.
Sure.
And I know if I eat it, it's either going to mess with my DNA in some weird, creepy way, or I'm going to have all these weird, goofy side effects. And just out of necessity, we're going to have to grow our own food.
Yeah, and I
think
think
full circle.
I think that, I have a couple friends right now currently that are doing different types of diets and lifestyle changes and things to eliminate a lot of different foods. And I think that it's great because if you can pare back your consumption to a very basic level where you are just living on really basic type staple foods, and you can have a pantry of those staple foods. I'm not talking about like a prepper pantry where you have like cans and cans of Chef Boyardee spaghetti and meatballs. Like that's the opposite of what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just like your basic bare bones, and like some of my friends are doing the carnivore diet and, different things like that along those lines. And although I'm not doing a carnivore diet, I can see the positive aspect of that is that they're realizing that they don't need all of these other junk foods in their life.
And when they turn all those other avenues of junk food off and they just eat meat, like good fresh meat, their body goes into mega detox mode.
Sure.
And you have either loss of weight if you're doing it for that, and then just overall just all the health benefits of detoxing and getting away from all of the nasty junk that you're consuming. And it might not even just be, oh, it's the meat that's doing it to me. It's just you also not, the meat's doing some stuff for you, but not just that. I think it's mainly all of the crap that you're cutting out. And
it's the things that you're not eating that are most important. And I say that a lot to people. It's not the things that we eat, it's the things that we don't eat that has made the biggest difference in our life. And I'm seeing this freedom with them that it's like, okay, I don't have to prep everything. I don't have to grow everything. And we've already kind of learned that within our pantry and developing our pantry in the past few years. But it's like, okay, which vegetables do I want to focus on to have in my pantry? Okay, green beans. That's my, okay, let me pick 2 fruits that I want to have canned in my pantry and ready to go. Okay, let me pick just, if I can only pick 2 different types of beans, or if I could only pick, one type of rice, which one would it be? Or one type of oil. And just thinking in that minimalist mindset. So you're not consumer based, you're not consumption based, but you're just, living very minimally. And I love that. I think that that's so freeing, especially for most Americans, that we feel like we have to have everything.
Yeah, you need to have your dairy products. So then you got to have your ice creams, your cheeses, and then you got to have your wheat and gluten products. So you got to have your bread, your crackers, fill in the blank. So much stuff like that.
There's so many
and
things.
Then just it goes on down the list: sugary, gluten products, your donuts and your croissants and things like that. And at the end of the day, they're really not great for you. And you could do with way, way, way less of that in your diet. And we're starting to really see what it does to people in the long run. We see that previous generation, our grandparents, right? Healthy, not really, we never used to see really too much disease in them. There's always the fluke. I'm talking bell curve. They were pretty stinking healthy people, not really too overweight because they worked hard. They all worked hard. They grew their own food. I'm talking out of experience of my grandparents, they grew strawberries and tomatoes, acres and acres of them, and they worked really hard. And I don't remember any of the stories of, oh, so-and-so got sick every couple months and whatever, or fill in the blank, had heart attacks and stuff like that. That wasn't a thing, but I think, and they lived a really awesome, long, great life, because I think people don't understand is when you're a kid, you have to have a good foundation and a good, solid, whole food foundation. If you don't have that, if you got a junk food foundation, that kid's going to really struggle.
Yeah.
And he's going to it's just going to fall apart. And we see so many of American kids that are just
struggling
terribly. And also, I'm going to talk about Hispanics too. Awesome, amazing, strong people, work their guts off type of people, but they've kind of adopted the American life as they've came over here. And what are we seeing? We're seeing them get the same stuff, becoming the same as this next generation of young Americans, overweight, and things like that, and not productive because they just physically can't handle anything mentally or physically because their bodies are totally taxed because they're eating absolute garbage. And it's a sad thing. And I think if we would take a step back and be like, okay, where the heck did we mess up? Okay, we got removed from whole basic foods.
Right.
So if we just go on back to whole basic foods, boom, we get longevity. We get an absolute thriving population of people.
I love that.
Instead of just this sick death that we have nowadays. And it's a terrible thing. And I think the government absolutely loves that. That's what they totally strive for, because when you're sick and you're not strong and you don't grow your own food, it's so easy to control you.
Yes.
It's incredibly easy to control somebody.
And it's very profitable to have a sick nation, a nation of sick people.
Because they own all the meds and everything for your sicknesses.
That's right.
And those meds keep you sick. So yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So chickens.
Yeah. What about chickens?
So chickens, a lot of people say that is the gateway animal into homesteading.
It's definitely one of them.
I mean,
I'd definitely say.
I would think that most people, no matter where you're at, you can probably own chickens, a small flock of chickens.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of urban farmers that have chickens. Of course, you have to check with your laws and bylaws and neighbors and all that. Make sure it's going to be okay.
You could just move, though, too.
Or move to somewhere where you could have chickens.
Yeah.
Because what it does is it creates your first step in food freedom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Food autonomy.
As basic as eggs.
Just as basic as eggs. Even if you never butcher
the
a chicken.
No.
Just as basic as just eggs. Just having a whole food like that. And there's so much research out there still that has not been canceled yet that will say that eggs are... An egg contains everything for a living animal to grow. I mean, there is everything in an egg that you can give to like even a sick animal. If you give it an egg, a raw egg or a cooked egg, even they're going to get so much from that because that's how powerful that food source is.
Yeah, I personally eat eggs every day.
Yeah,
and I know I'm very blessed to do that because right now, eggs are stupid expensive, and you might be saying, Matt, how in the world are you eating eggs every day? I eat 5-6 eggs a day. That's probably blowing people's minds right now. They're like, how are you doing that? How are you affording that? Because you practically have to be a millionaire nowadays to do that. Well, it's as easy as owning a couple chickens.
Yes.
And we got about, what would you say?
Probably about 20,
30?
Yeah.
More, I would say more 20 chickens.
About 25. Yeah, chickens.
Chickens and...
hens.
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
saying hens, yes.
Oh.
Laying hens, yeah.
We don't know what they identify as, but anyway. So what we've been doing, and we've been seeing amazing success. Just want to share a couple tricks and tips for y'all. Keeping their place nice and clean.
Yes.
Every week now.
Yeah.
I'm throwing in a bag of shavings. Fluffing up everything, keeping them super happy with that, making sure they always have water. The other thing is some people do it, some people don't. They will, some people feed their chickens like once a day. They'll throw out the right amount of chicken scratch for their chickens. Personally, what we do, we got kind of like American chickens. We just have a bin of food there for the chickens to eat 24/7.
Yeah.
Becky's Homestead does a lot of that, perpetual food, and she's had really good success, and she's like the OG of the OG of the OG chicken lady on YouTube, Becky's Homestead. We've been watching her channel since the get-go. So anyway, those are the three main things: water, constant food, and
clean water.
Clean water and clean bedding, clean nesting material, a non-stressful environment too. Trying not to scare the birds or drive heavy equipment nearby them, things like that. Try to keep them more on the chill. The other thing too is having our Great Pyrenees dog, which I'm going to be posting a video about that. Keeps the predator pressure off. They're not getting spooked every night by some coon that's trying to get in, or chickens are dying and they're seeing their fellow chickens dying beside them or whatever, getting their heads pulled off or something like that. Just keeping them nice and chill. And now the warmth has came back to Texas. Praise the Lord for that. So we have been seeing a big increase up to like 20 eggs a day. It's been amazing.
It has been good. Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. So we're just going to keep steadily doing that. And also, this kind of ties right into the that plays right into hatching our own chickens too. We personally have had chickens
since you were about 3
since
years
I was about
old.
3. So quite a while. And so like 15 years then?
Yeah,
15
right
years.
about, yeah.
Anyway, and we've kind of learned over those 15 years that don't hatch chickens in the wintertime. It's too much work.
It's
too much drama because you got to keep them warm and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So and normally mother hens too, they hatch their chicks out in the springtime, most of them anyway, because they're smart and they're like, okay, it's going to be warmer in the springtime. So anyway, we like to hatch our chicks out normally in the spring. Sometimes in the summer. Our summer's kind of like our winter too. It can get too hot.
Yeah.
And it's kind of almost even more hard to keep your chicks cool in the summertime when it's 100+ degrees out and they're in a tin coop or whatever.
Yeah.
It's tricky. So anyway, we try to keep it either fall and then plan it so they'll be a couple months old when they're going into the winter, so they'll be nice and strong, or just early spring when it's starting to warm up, 60-degree nights, 50-degree nights, where it's just kind of warm. If we need to put a heat lamp on them in the evening time, that's fine, but no baby chick drama. So a lot of people, I think that's the beautiful thing, is that when you have your flock and you get it nice and secure, that's the other thing too. Yeah. On top of that, I don't want to get too sidetracked, but it's chicken related, is having a secure coop. And
that has been trial and error for us over the years.
We went from putting them in a coop to being like, oh, we should just free range them, to putting them in a coop to free ranging them. Y'all, we've had to buy and restart chickens at least 5 times, literally, and it's been totally our fault. And we've learned over several years, we've tried it every stinking way under the sun. We've tried it the Justin Rhodes way, the Joel Salatin way. We've tried it all. Moving them around. And we found that the best, easiest way is to keep them in a big run. We put a big old run out there. It's like 80 by 30 feet.
Now, where did we really where did that truth really set in from? Do you remember?
The truth really set in personally for me was Alaska, the Last Frontier people.
Okay.
I don't know who you were going to say.
That's
what you were going to say?
I was thinking the Homestead Rescue.
Oh, Homestead Rescue.
They're Alaskan people too.
So pretty much the same people. So every time a Homestead Rescue would go to a homestead to rescue it, they would build them a stinking legit chicken coop, like bulletproof, grizzly bear proof, legit chicken coop. And I think that was so smart. And some people do this. They got a real strong coop and they will go out there, let their chickens out for a little bit, and then like right before evening time, and then they'll train them to go back into the coop. We've tried that, and then somebody forgets to go lock them up, and then something gets in the coop.
Or you have a hen that doesn't want to sleep in the coop. Goodness. She wants to sleep in the tree, and then her friend decides to sleep in the tree, and then the next thing you know, you got
they're all sleeping in the tree. Exactly.
10 chickens in a tree.
And then they're like, oh, the nest boxes aren't as fun to lay in, so let's go lay over here. It's annoying. So we just decided, sadly, just put them in their coop. It's nice and big. It's nice and clean. and they can live out their chicken dreams in there. And we'll feed them compost and everything like that. But free ranging them, y'all, with at least around here with the predators and stuff, they get smart so fast. Like you'll go with the first month of free ranging if you haven't had them like free ranging at all, and you're like, dude, what are the Texas boys saying? They're crazy. Yeah. But dude, those predators will finally hone in and be like, oh crap, these chickens are coming out at this certain particular time.
Right.
It's Wild West out there. We had a bobcat jump out of the woods midday, jump out into our backyard, and then like run away or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and also had a coyote jump over the back orchard fence because it was killing ducks, jumping over the fence because it learned that our guardian dog didn't go into our back orchard because it was totally fenced in. It was able to leap over it and then leap back over it with the duck.
Yeah.
So just keeping it fenced in. Also, we have a hoop that goes over some PVC pipe that we bent over and some mesh over that. First, it does two things. It stops them from flying out because that's annoying, clipping their wings every 6 months or 4 months. And then, oh man, I guess it's time to clip their wings because they're all out right now.
Right.
And then also it keeps your aerial predators away too.
Which we've had a lot of problems
with. Great
with.
horned owls, red-tailed hawks, different things like that.
Yes.
Remington does, our livestock guardian dog, Great Pyrenees. He does a great job of keeping them away. But, you know, if he's in the front of the property taking a nap or something, he's not going to see the eagle or whatever that's flying over at that 1 second and scoops up a chicken or something. So we just went ahead and covered them up. Also, if you raise ducks, we raise Muscovy ducks. Their wings grow like twice as fast as a chicken. So, and they are more powerful than a chicken. Yeah. So even with clipped wings, they can sometimes, we got naughty ducks, and they will take their feet, grab on to the fence, and rock climb up the fence while flapping at the same time. So they were all out, of course. And we're like, okay, we're going to do the same thing with the ducks that we did with the chickens. Build a big old pen. Nice and secure so they can't get out.
Right.
Keep it nice and clean as much as we can with ducks. Give them perpetual water, but we'll just feed them like a couple scoops of feed or whatever a day, because if y'all have ever owned ducks, they will eat perpetually. They're crazy. They'll eat you out of house and home. So, and then we put a net over top of it, and it's amazing. It's so awesome to see them. They'll fly out, and then they hit the net, and then they fly back down. I'm like, oh, that warms my heart, because normally if we had them in a normal pen, they would just fly away into the pond. And you're like, dang it.
And the reason that we are taking care of them the way that we are in a run is because we did have them free range before. Yeah. And the trouble with that is that you won't know where the eggs are.
They lay eggs in the pond, y'all.
They lay a lot of eggs in the pond, and then you got rotten eggs floating around your pond.
Yes,
and
that's a real thing that happens.
The other thing is that you can't collect the eggs on a regular basis because the eggs are everywhere. I mean, ducks will just be like, you just lay an egg in your driveway.
No, just also, randomly.
They're really broody, so they'll have like multiple broody nests going on everywhere. Like at one point last
year,
summer,
we had at least 20 mamas that were broody.
Yeah.
In their own spots.
And
every day we would find a couple more of them.
Yeah.
But then it's like, how long have they been sitting on the eggs?
Right.
Because these mama ducks will literally be broody. I had one literally broody for 6 months straight.
Right. And then some will abandon the nest. You don't know. And then it's like, well, do I leave them? Well, which one was the mama?
And then like you'll see like baby ducks walking up to you, and you're like, where's your mom? And then like you go over here and the mom's like, whatever, like, I'm not a mom anymore. I'm just going to go play out in the pond. There's like 7 baby ducks here. And then you got to like pick them up and nurture them. Oh my goodness.
So the best thing that we have found is just to go ahead and put them in a coop too, just because we are raising them for meat and eggs. Exactly. If you're raising them just for pleasure or aesthetic,
you just want some ducks on the pond.
That's
easy.
That's a whole different thing.
Keep them out on the pond. Build a little dock, I think that's kind of the coolest thing. I think White House on the Hill did that. I don't know if Cog Hill did it though, but they built a little stand out in the middle of their pond with like a duck house, and that's smart because at night they'll go out there. Like even on our pond, we have a floating sprayer, And all 5 of the ducks somehow fit on that little sprayer.
Really?
And they feel secure because they're in the middle of the pond and they're on a platform, so they can stay out there all night long. And that's where they used to sleep.
Yeah. So I think, if we go back in time to when we first got started with chickens, we can talk about some of the different breeds that we've had over the years, some of our favorite breeds or not so favorite breeds. I can kind of highlight some of them. And then also, if you are like in an urban setting or where maybe you just don't feel comfortable with the butchering process, there are people that if you ask around or look around, you might be able to find someone. Like we had up in the north, there was somebody that he would come, he would take all of your birds for you. He would go and process them.
Or maybe just some farm kids.
Yeah, and he would do it, and he would say, do you want them whole or do you want them in parts? And then he would shrink wrap all of it.
That's awesome.
And just deliver it all back to you. And he barely charged anything. It was so
But that was back in the day.
Nice. It was really nice. But there's people in more populated areas than where we're at.
No, that's true.
We're very rural, and people are very independent minded. So most
it's like
people
butcher your own chicken. I don't need to butcher your chicken.
Yeah, they're doing it themselves. I think most people down here. So that is a thing, because eventually you will have older hens, or you might have extra roosters that you need taken care of, or you can always give them away.
And I think the other thing that with the beauty of raising your own, when it comes to raising your own chickens, raising your own ducks, raising your own cattle, the thing is you do not have to go out and butcher 200 chickens at a time.
That's
or
true.
Whatever for the year. Like, I want to get 6 months of chickens in the freezer. Great if you want to. But the other thing that you can think of, which not a lot of people talk about, but think about it like this. Okay, we need a chicken for a chicken dinner. We have chicken dinner whenever. I'm just making something up. But we have chicken dinner twice a week or whatever. So we need 2 chickens, and we got all these chickens out there. Go pick. The last frontier people did this all the time. And whenever they needed chicken for chicken dinner or whatever, they would just go out, grab a chicken, slaughter it, and butcher it right then and there. Now, is that as convenient as pulling it out of the freezer or picking it up at the grocery store? No. But it all depends. I just want to give y'all more ideas too, that you don't have to butcher all of your chickens for 6 months or for the year in one day or a couple days.
And a lot of people don't even have space in their freezer to keep all of that.
So you could keep them out in the yard living.
Right.
And people do that with cattle all the time. Like, I'm not raising 15 cattle over there to go butcher them all at once and like try to keep them here. And I think that's not a smart thing to do either, because if the power goes out for an extended amount of time and there's a fuel shortage or something, then I got all my cattle locked up in these freezers and they're going to finally rot and go bad when I could just keep them on the hoof. And whenever we need to eat a cow, we can process the cow. All of us boys learned how to process cows in the field. We watched some videos online and we went ahead, shot a cow, drug her up into a tree with a winch on our side-by-side and butchered her right there. And it was self-taught. We watched some videos, but we never had like hands-on experience. And we're like, we're going to go learn this.
But you did have a great mentor.
We did have a good mentor, Mr. Larry. And yeah, it was great. And absolutely would recommend it. It's a lot of work. It's about 3 days worth of work. Just, you got your first day is just dispatching the cow, skinning the cow, getting into quarters, and then getting it home, getting it cooled, cooling it for a certain amount of time. And then you got to go into the laborious process, which God blessed us afterwards, which is fine. It's still fine. But afterwards with getting we got it at Atwood's. It was awesome. It's a big bandsaw with an awesome 2 horsepower grinder on the side, and it has like a sliding stainless steel plate.
Yeah.
And I wish that we had that for our cat when we were butchering our other cattle, but we didn't, which is fine. We just used a sawzall and some loppers and stuff like that. And is it the most prettiest cut meat in the world? No. It's kind of maybe sliced up a little different or whatever. We learned our lesson from the last time because we accidentally ground up a couple tendons in the ground beef. Don't do that. That's not good. I think what we are going to do next time is, because tendons always get in it. Like no matter what, it's kind of hard to get all the tendons out. What we did, just a little tip, if y'all are, I don't know who's going to hear this, but maybe this will help you out and be like, oh, that's a great idea. I was just about to butcher a cow or something.
You're going to scare them into
grind beef or something. So we were first trying with our grinder to grind it at like the most finest grind. And I've heard of this in butcher shops too, is they'll have a coarse grind and then some are crazy. They'll go finer grind and then the last like finished product grind.
Oh, wow.
They'll go crazy.
Okay.
What we did sadly is we just did like a coarse grind and didn't do a second grind. I think if we would have done the second grind, it would have been able to break up everything beautifully. Because even with the coarse grind, it went faster. We got done faster.
It was a lot of meat. Yeah.
And but even the fat though didn't really get chewed up small enough to really get in with all the meat. So
makes a good meatloaf though.
Oh yeah.
It makes a really good meatloaf.
Excellent meatloaf.
I bet it would still be fine in meatballs too. You could do
probably
meatballs with it.
Occasional tendon here and there.
Yeah. It's good for you.
Yeah.
We just wanted to encourage y'all with your food to simplify.
Grow your own food.
Grow your own.
You don't think about growing all of your food. Like, I got to grow all my own food. That's incredible. Like, that's insane to even think about. Just think about growing. For now, we still have the grocery store. Don't rely on the grocery store. But for now, we still have the grocery store. So be like, okay, lettuce and salad is getting really expensive. And it is. It's getting stupid expensive. Okay, I could get some little Walmart, fill in the blank, whatever, little totes, fill them with some dirt, some compost, and plant some lettuce seeds in there and or buy some lettuce starts this spring and start it up. Or go, or if you want it all year long, Harbor Freight sells those little greenhouses for not too bad of prices. Cog Hill's had his for like so many years.
Yeah.
And he absolutely loves it. And they're pretty inexpensive and you can grow all types of stuff in there. It's smaller, but that's another great way to grow food all year long. And especially if you're in a colder climate where you only have a couple months of growing time, you know?
Yeah.
So
and I find that it's really fun to grow things on the off season.
Absolutely.
If you are in the South where it is really hot, or even in the North, the summers are intense. The summers can be really hot.
They vary from year to year.
Yeah.
I
really like growing on the off season. Like I'm really enjoying that.
This year, I think we'll grow some sweet potatoes through the summer. They're easy. They're pretty stinking drought tolerant. We might grow a couple other things thrown in there. But other than that, really, we're going to grow a couple things in the greenhouse, our lettuce and stuff like that. But we're really going to wait until stuff cools off.
And focusing on our fruit trees. Even if you don't have a gigantic Pinterest or Instagram worthy garden, how about if you just get a couple fruit trees from a store and put them in the ground, and you know what, call it, like, that's great. And get a little pot and plant some lettuce seeds or plant a couple tomato plants and just be happy with that. It doesn't have to be this ginormous undertaking either. I think
production, we
learned that. I think, you know, every year it's just been more and more of a learning curve, and we're into our 9th year now in Texas. And it's just learning to live a more and more simple life, that we're not so heavily reliant on any type of supplementation,
food supply.
You know, so that's been really good for us. And I think it did all start with chickens. And I said I was going to give you some breeds that we've had over the years. I'll end it with this, I guess. And if you think of any that you really love, you can throw them in there too. I think we've had almost every breed of chicken, except for maybe some of these newer hybrid types.
Yeah, exactly.
But
tried a lot.
Yeah, so some of our favorites. Let's see. Right off the top, I'm going to say, like, the best egg laying breeds, because that's what everybody wants to know right now, right? And even if you can't have, let me back up quickly, even if you can't have chickens in your backyard, maybe there's somebody at your church, there's a friend of yours, you have a mother or a mother-in-law or an aunt or somebody else. You can
grow it there. Maybe they're out of the city limits and stuff like that.
And you can go in with them together and say, look, I can't have chickens in my
yard.
I'll
pay 50-50 for the chicken feed.
I'll pay for the chicken feed if you raise them.
Exactly.
And, or bartering. We can go half and half on the coop, or you pay for the coop, I'll pay for the chickens, or whatever, and make it a team effort. There's people at our church doing that with
right now. It's awesome.
Having a little homestead. And, the grandma has a little bit of land, so she's doing the little dairy goats and the chickens, and for the rest of the family, she's growing the food. And it's really cool. So think outside the box.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't just say, I can't do it. Figure out a way.
To do.
Right.
Just I can't do that.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
Figure out a way somebody else can do it.
There is a will, there is a way.
There might be somebody who is home all the time that wouldn't mind
raising some chickens.
And
all they need is I just couldn't afford the coop or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you can afford the coop and build the coop for them.
And if they have consistent feed, like we said, the big totes is what we use, the big container totes. And then you can just put the lid on it at night. In the morning, take the lid off to keep the rodents out and things like that. Our water system is really simple. It's just a big 55-gallon
drum with some nipples drilled in the side of it. And y'all, with 25, 30 chickens in there, we fill it up once a week.
Yeah.
And that's great. And then eventually, what we do is we keep it in the shade now for the run. Most of the run is all open sunshine. But then there's a little tarp section that we have where the chickens can get out of the coop. We found that this helps them out too, because we've had some rainy days. So they can get out of the coop, they can stretch their legs, but they're not getting wet.
Right.
But they still feel like they're outside because they can see through the fence and everything like that. And they can get their water. Their water is under the tarp. So then the water doesn't have to be inside the coop, because that's annoying.
Right.
But they don't have to get wet and get stretched out,
get stressed
out when they're drinking their water and stuff like that. And just trying to keep them as happy as possible.
As happy and comfortable as possible. Just think of your chickens like a pregnant woman.
Pretty much.
You just want to baby them and make them as comfortable as possible. And then they lay eggs.
They lay lots
it's
of
amazing.
Eggs, like crazy.
So anyway, okay, so let me back up.
To the breeds.
Back to the breeds. Sorry, I wanted to take away all of your excuses, y'all. So we started out with Buff Orpingtons.
Love those.
We've had from then we went to all of the different colored egg layer breeds. We've had olive eggers, all of the different Morans.
We had Rhode Island Reds.
They are not my favorite.
No.
Now, sorry, I'm going to be distracted again. Currently, we have salmon Faverolles, which I really enjoy them.
Yes.
I love their personality.
But
they aren't the best layers. At all. So if you're looking for eggs...
They lay incredibly beautiful eggs.
They do lay, but they're not. Make sure when you're looking at your chicken breeds, make sure you're looking at the egg production and comparatively look at it compared to other breeds. So don't get too fascinated with, just what the chicken looks like. We have enough chickens out there that I can have some favorite ones.
Exactly.
Like my salmon Faverolles, I never had that breed.
They're a beautiful chicken.
They're beautiful. I love them. I love their personality.
They're very sweet.
Yes.
Literally puppy dogs.
But our layers that are cranking the eggs.
Cranking it out.
Right now are the leghorns.
They're these wild looking leghorn things that we got off of Craigslist.
They're brown.
They're crazy. And they're not going to let you cuddle them, but they crank out eggs like nobody's business.
Yes,
they get the job done. So that's a thing that you could have. You could have some of your favorite breeds that are kind, the black Australorps. Too. They're those ones too. Now, the downside about the leghorn though is that they are not going to be dual purpose.
No, they're not.
You're not going to be able to butcher those things. They're going to be skin and bones practically. Maybe a little bit of breast meat and stuff like that, but other than that, nothing. They're just going to be they're going to be your main egg producers. So you could also do this is have some which that's what we do, is have our main egg producers, which are our leghorns.
Yes.
For our meat side, poultry, well, it's not poultry, but for our meat side, we have our Muscovy ducks.
Yes. And I have my giant Cochin roosters that I bought to breed back in with my flock. It's kind of a mixed flock. So they're a heavier, weightier bird.
Weightier bird, yeah, exactly. So that's what we've been doing right now. So it's always tricky because some people are like, oh, I just want to have the most dual purpose bird in the world. But sometimes we've tried so many different ones and they're so dual purpose that they're like, they're pretty good on meat, but not the best in the world. And they're not really the best on eggs, but they're not the worst in the world type of thing. So it's like you get this weird like middle ground and you're like, I don't know. Instead of just being like, I got really, really good egg layers, best of the best egg layers. They're not good for meat, but they're just good for eggs. But then I got the best of the best meat chickens that work for me and my family, or meat ducks. You know,
it's really true. I mean, even when you talk about it in regards to like cows, right? You have beef cows and then you have dairy cows.
Exactly.
Can you have dual purpose breeds? Yes. But there's a reason that there's certain breeds that are for dairy and there's certain breeds that are for meat, whether it be temperament wise or all the other different things, right? So it's not just, well, that cow has meat on it, I could butcher it. Well, yes, you could, but if you try to milk her, she's gonna act like a wild, crazy cow.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
instead of like this dairy cow that's had it in her, it's like in her genetics to be milked by a person, by human beings.
Absolutely.
And she's like, yeah, go ahead, dude, milk me. You need to milk me every morning. Please do
I'll follow you around like a puppy dog.
I'll follow you around. You don't gotta tie me up. Just milk me. I'll love you. And you're just not gonna do that with a Black Angus, y'all.
No,
you're just not.
It's not.
It's gonna be like, it's gonna be like running around, going crazy. But they're great for beef.
That's right.
So
so that is when you are shopping chickens, just be realistic with yourself that there are certain breeds that are bred for certain purposes. So
do lots of research.
Yes,
lots of research.
That's a really good idea. And maybe you have one friend that wants to raise your meat birds and another friend that wants to raise a coop of laying birds, so that's really cool too. But we've had just so many different breeds over the years. Right now we currently have the salmon Favrals that are just for funsies really and eye candy, and then also they do lay eggs. They do. And then second is the leghorns, my brown leghorns that are out there that I love. I've had them in years past just because they crank the eggs. And third that is out there are my mixed flock that are my colored egg layers that they lay me like every single different colored egg. That was my colored egg project that I worked on for a couple of years, just developing my own. So I have all of the different shades of olives and blues and all that. That's just for fun too for us.
They're still not our main producer of eggs.
If I can tell you one thing, if you're looking for eggs, and a lot of them. Well, I could tell you two things, but if you're looking for eggs and a lot of them, if you can find bovine brown.
It's at Sweden. We're Swedish.
Yeah, bovine brown chickens. And I'm not saying bovine like a cow, but bovine browns. They are I believe they're a sex-linked chicken, but they're not like sex-links. I can get sex-linked chickens down here. No. I cannot get bovine brown chickens. They are something that I believe they were developed by a university, and they are a specific hybrid chicken. And
GMO chicken.
They lay... They're not GMO. They're not genetically modified, but they are a hybrid, and they are
like a Prius.
They lay an incredible amount of brown eggs, huge brown eggs. I know it firsthand because I have a friend in Ohio that has bovine browns. She has them every single year.
She needs to send us some eggs.
She needs to send me some hatching eggs.
She's watching this. You got to send us eggs.
They're amazing, and I cannot get my hands on any.
Wow.
I've searched online. If y'all can find me some bovine brown chicks or hatching eggs, you let me know. But they're amazing. They will put a leghorn or Rhode Island Red
to shame. Does it
in the amount of eggs?
Like how many eggs they lay? Or no,
I'm going to probably say it and be wrong, but you can look it up.
Is it every day?
What the average egg production is?
Do they lay 2 a day?
I don't know. For a bovine brown, it's phenomenal. Second to that is if you're looking for duck eggs, because I know that a lot of people prefer duck eggs.
Well, some people are, it's crazy. Like some people are allergic to chicken eggs and not allergic to duck eggs.
Yes, that's true.
I mean, it doesn't make sense in my brain, but I guess
it's totally different. The vitamins and the nutritional content in chicken eggs are different than duck eggs. So duck eggs, I'm going to go with Khaki Campbell's.
Okay.
Are just going to pretty much almost outdo the production of any chicken.
Yeah.
And if you look, there is a hatchery out of California, and I cannot remember the name of it. But if I can find it for you, I will link it for you below. And they make a hybrid of a Khaki Campbell duck and
the GMO duck.
They are called. What are they called? Oh, my soul. I can't think of it right now. Okay. But they make a hybrid of, it's a Khaki Campbell duck combined with a different type of duck. And they are like super layers.
Interesting.
Super duper layers. They are a brown duck, and I can't remember what it's called, but I'll figure it out. And
we'll figure it out. We'll comment.
I'll leave it for you below. We had them before, only because we needed eggs, like in a serious amount of eggs. And they will put any chicken to shame with the amount of eggs that they lay. So that's all the egg tips that we have for you.
Yeah. I think that'll wrap up the podcast for today. I think that's enough chicken, humanity, duck, chit-chat, chicken chat for today. And hopefully y'all loved today's podcast. If you did, remember to hit the subscribe button for more podcasts like this. We're going to be amping up the podcast game, podcast/video game, hopefully for our people that just listened to this. Thank y'all so much for listening in. And we got some more equipment coming, so then it won't be just one stagnant shot of us, and some different software and things like that. And going to be bringing some people on the show. So hang on to your hats, folks. We're going to be getting this thing all fine-tuned up, trying to make it so then y'all leave happy and hopefully learn something. And thank y'all so much once again for listening or watching this podcast, and we'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.